Look, I need to be honest with you right from the start. When the Galactic Council announced the Great Species Trial, I thought we had this in the bag. I mean, really, truly, genuinely believed we were going to humiliate the humans so badly they'd spend the next century apologizing for even showing up. My name is Krell. I'm a Cortaxian observer, 3rd class, which means I get all the boring assignments nobody else wants. But this was supposed to be entertainment. The Council had decided that humanity needed to prove their worth, demonstrate their survival capabilities, against the deadliest predator from another species' homeworld. Standard procedure. We'd done it 17 times before. 17 species had failed. Some spectacularly, the Threxians brought their bone crusher, a 6-ton carnivore with acid spit. Dead in 4 minutes. The Yulari brought their sky shredder, a flying nightmare with razor wings. Dead in 9. You get the pattern here. The arena is designed to be inescapable. The predator is designed to be unstoppable. The challenger usually ends up being dead. So when Ambassador Kelvin, a middle-aged human male with the most unremarkable face I'd ever seen, stepped up to the registration platform, I was already writing my report in my head. Human delegation fails miserably, requests immediate transport home, possibly cries. We accept the trial, Kelvin said, his voice steady, boring even. We'll send our champion tomorrow at dawn. Council Chair Thopax, a massive Grendorian with 4 arms and an ego the size of a small moon, leaned forward on his hovering throne. You understand the terms. One of your kind enters the arena. One predator from our selection enters from the opposite side. Only one leaves alive. Refuse, and humanity is barred from council membership for 5 generations. We understand perfectly, Kelvin replied. I should mention that we'd chosen something special for the humans. Oh yes, very special indeed. The Krell Ravager. Native to the death world of Krell 9, where the gravity is 3 times standard, the atmosphere is toxic, and evolution apparently decided that mercy was for weaklings. The Ravager stands 12 feet tall, has claws that can slice through hull plating, and a hunting intelligence that borders on strategic thinking. It had killed 47 challengers in exhibition matches across the galaxy. We were going to feed a human to this thing, broadcast it across 600 worlds, and establish once, and for all that these pink, fragile primates had no business pretending they belonged among us. Dawn came. The arena, a massive circular structure with walls 60 feet high and packed spectator galleries, hummed with anticipation. 70,000 beings from across the galaxy had gathered to watch. The betting pools had humanity's survival chances at 8,000 to 1. I'd personally put 50 credits on dead within 2 minutes. The Ravager was released first. It prowled into the arena, muscles rippling under midnight black scales, each breath producing a sound like grinding metal. Its eyes, 6 of them arranged in a crown around its elongated skull, scanned the space with predatory focus. Beautiful, if you appreciate things designed to kill. Then the human entrance gate opened. What stepped out made me drop my datapad. It was an elderly human female. Maybe 5 feet tall, maybe 400 pounds if we're being generous, with silver hair pulled back in what I'd later learn was called a bun. She wore a floral pattern dress, the kind my research said human grandmothers wear to gardening clubs. In her right hand, she carried a wooden stick with bristles at the end. A broom. She brought a broom. The arena fell absolutely silent. Not the anticipatory silence of before. This was the silence of collective confusion, bordering on outrage. Council Chair Thopax activated his communication link. Ambassador Kelvin. What is the meaning of this? Kelvin's voice came through calm, almost amused. You said we could send any human. That's any human. We sent Agnes Holtby. She's 73, retired, has 6 grandchildren, and according to last month's vote, makes the best apple pie in her entire settlement. This is an insult. Thopax roared. You mock the sacred trial. No mockery, Kelvin replied. You wanted to see what humans are capable of. Watch. The Ravager had noticed Agnes now. It moved toward her, low and slow, the way apex predators do when they're savoring an easy kill. Its claws extended, each one the length of my arm. Venom dripped from its fangs, hissing where it hit the arena floor. Agnes stood there, broom in hand, and I swear on my ancestors' breeding pool, she looked annoyed. Not terrified. Not even concerned. Annoyed. Like this massive death machine was a neighborhood cat in her petunias, the Ravager lunged. Fast, brutal, claws extended to disembowel. Agnes stepped sideways. Just stepped. Barely moved. The Ravager sailed past her, confused, already turning for another strike. That's when Agnes hit it with the broom. Now, I know what you're thinking. A wooden stick with bristles against a 12-foot-tall murder machine. Please. But you need to understand something fundamental here. Something we'd all missed in our research about humanity. Human grandmothers are not bound by conventional physics. the broom connected with the Ravager's snout with a crack that echoed through the arena. The creature actually yelped. Not roared. Yelped. Like a scolded pet. Bad. Agnes shouted, her voice carrying that special tone that every species in the galaxy apparently understands on an instinctual level. The tone that says you have disappointed someone who expected better from you. Bad creature. We do not attack old ladies. She hit it again. Thwack. Right on the nose, the Ravager backed up. I want to be clear about this. The most dangerous predator from a death world, champion of 47 arena kills, backed away from a 73-year-old woman with a cleaning implement. Now you listen here, Agnes continued, advancing with the broom held like a weapon, which technically it was at this point. I've raised 4 children, buried 1 husband, taught kindergarten for 30 years, and I once stared down a grizzly bear that was after my garbage cans. You think you scare me? The Ravager tried another approach. It circled, looking for an opening. Agnes just kept turning with it, broom ready. The creature feinted left. Agnes didn't fall for it. It tried to use its tail as a whip. Agnes jabbed the broom into the ground and vaulted, yes vaulted, over the strike. 73 years old and she vaulted. I've done yoga every morning for 20 years, sweetie, she said, landing and immediately swatting the Ravager's retreating tail. Flexibility is important for seniors. I looked around the arena. Every single observer sat frozen, mouths hanging open in whatever configuration their species used for gaping shock. The betting boards had crashed. Nobody knew what to do with this information. The Ravager decided on a new strategy. It used its infamous intimidation roar, the one that had caused 3 previous challengers to literally die of fear on the spot. The sound wave hit Agnes like a physical force, blowing her hair back, making her dress ripple. She cupped one hand around her ear. What's that, dear? You'll have to speak up. I left my hearing aids at home. Then she charged. I'm going to repeat that because it bears repeating. The 73-year-old human grandmother charged the Ravager. The creature, faced with something its evolution had never prepared it for, did the only logical thing. It ran. A 12-foot-tall apex predator, engineered by millions of years of brutal natural selection, ran from a small elderly human with a broom. It scrambled for the arena walls, trying to climb them with its claws. Agnes pursued, broom swinging. Oh no you don't. We're not done here. Thwack. You started this. Thwack. Now face the consequences. Thwack. The Ravager made a sound I'd never heard before. A whimper. A plea. It curled into a ball in the corner of the arena, covering its head with its claws, while Agnes stood over it, broom raised. Are you going to behave? She demanded. The creature nodded. Actually nodded. Good. Now apologize. The Ravager made a low, mournful sound. I don't speak monster, but I'll accept that. Agnes lowered her broom. She looked up at the council's box, shading her eyes with her hand. Are we done here? I've got bridge club at noon. Council Chair Thopax's forearms hung limply at his sides. His mouth opened and closed like a suffocating fish. Finally, he managed words. The human has survived. The trial is complete. Survived? Ambassador Kelvin's voice cut through the communication system. She won. Decisively. That's not how the trial works. Thopax sputtered. Your exact words were only 1 leaves alive, Kelvin pointed out. You didn't specify who. Agnes is leaving. The Ravager can stay here and think about what it's done. Agnes was already walking toward the exit gate, broom over her shoulder. She paused, turned back to the cowering Ravager, and called out, and you remember this the next time you think about attacking someone's grandmother. That's when the arena erupted. Not in cheers. In absolute pandemonium. Species were shouting in 16 different languages, demanding explanations, replays, drug tests. 3 ambassadors fainted. The Krellian handler ran into the arena to check on his species' pride and glory, only to find it still curled up, occasionally shuddering. I sat there, datapad forgotten, 50 credits poorer, and everything I thought I knew about the universe suddenly very much in question. Ambassador Kelvin's face appeared on the main screens, and I swear he was trying not to smile. Humanity formally requests council membership. Any objections? Silence. Absolute, stunned silence. Excellent. We'll send the paperwork tomorrow. Agnes, are you ready to go home? The grandmother waved at the cameras. Yes, dear. And someone tell that young man Vrel in section 47 that he should have bet on me. I'm very spry for my age. She knew my name. She'd picked me out of 70,000 beings. How did she even know where I was sitting? Human grandmothers, I realized, were far more dangerous than we'd ever imagined. 3 standard cycles passed before the council reconvened to officially process humanity's membership application. 3 cycles that I spent reviewing the arena footage approximately 400 times, trying to understand what my 8 eyes had witnessed. The Ravager, by the way, never recovered. The Krellian handlers tried everything. Therapeutic rehabilitation, memory suppression, even hiring a cross-species animal psychologist. Nothing worked. The creature now lived in a sanctuary on Krell 9, where it reportedly spent its days hiding under large rocks whenever anything remotely resembling a small, elderly female approached. The handlers had to ban floral patterns from the facility entirely after an incident involving a visiting botanist in a flowered shirt. But here's the thing nobody expected. The humans didn't just send the paperwork. They sent Agnes, again. She arrived at the council chambers on Station Meridian 7, accompanied by Ambassador Kelvin, a security detail of exactly 0 people, and the same Broom. I watched from my observation post as she shuffled through the main concourse, stopping occasionally to compliment alien species on their appearance, or offer unsolicited advice about posture. Your back tentacles are slouching, dear, she told a Yulari diplomat. You'll regret that when you're my age. The Yulari, a species that had conquered 14 star systems through military might, straightened up immediately. Council Chair Thopax had not taken the trial results well. Rumor suggested he'd spent 2 full cycles in a meditation chamber, trying to reconcile what happened with his understanding of natural law. He failed. Now he sat on his throne, all 4 arms crossed, looking like someone had stolen his favorite toy and replaced it with a philosophical problem. The council recognizes Ambassador Kelvin of Earth, he announced, his voice lacking its usual bombastic flair. Kelvin stepped forward. Thank you, Chair. We're here to finalize our membership and discuss humanity's potential contributions to the galactic community. Contributions, Thopax repeated flatly. Yes. About that. He leaned forward, and I recognized the look. He was going to try something. The council has reviewed your species file more thoroughly. We have concerns. Oh, this was going to be good. I pulled out my datapad and started recording. Your planet has approximately 8 billion individuals, correct? Thopax continued. Approximately, Kelvin confirmed. And you've only recently achieved faster-than-light travel. Your technology is primitive compared to most council species. Your military capabilities are limited. Your economy is developing at best. He paused dramatically. Why should we accept a species that brings so little to the table? Several council members nodded. The Threxian ambassador actually smiled, showing far too many teeth. Kelvin didn't flinch. Because we bring something none of you have. And what's that? Grandmothers with cleaning supplies. The Threxian laughed at his own joke. Several others joined in. Exactly, Kelvin said. The laughter stopped. Agnes, who'd been sitting quietly in a visitor chair knitting something with yarn she'd apparently brought along, looked up. Are we doing the thing now, dear? We're doing the thing, Agnes. She set down her knitting, stood up with a slight grunt, and walked to the center of the council floor. 73 years old, moving like every step required negotiation with her joints, broom in hand. Honorable council members, Kelvin began, and I noticed his tone had shifted from diplomatic to something that sounded suspiciously like a sales pitch. Let me tell you about humanity. Yes, we're technologically behind. Yes, our military is small. Yes, we're new to all of this. He gestured around the massive chamber. But we've survived on a death world for 200,000 years using the one resource that matters most. Stubbornness. Stubbornness is not a resource, Thopax countered. Oh, but it is, Agnes interjected, her voice surprisingly strong in the acoustically designed chamber. Let me tell you something about humans, gentlemen. And ladies. And whatever you are. She nodded at a gaseous entity in containment sphere. We don't quit. Ever. You know what I did before I came here. Nobody answered. The question seemed rhetorical anyway. I researched every species in this council. All 467 of you. Took me 3 days, lots of coffee, and my granddaughter's help with the computer thing, but I did it. She started walking around the floor, broom tapping rhythmically. The Threxians. Your economy is crashing, because nobody wants to trade with species that eat their business partners. The Cortaxians, my friend Vrel's people, you've got a pollution crisis on your homeworld that'll make it uninhabitable in 50 years. The Yulari, your birth rate is so low you'll be extinct in 3 generations. The chamber erupted in protests. How did she know this? That information was classified. This was outrageous. Agnes just kept talking, her voice cutting through the noise like a teacher quieting a rowdy classroom. Do you know what humans are really, really good at? Problems. We love problems. We wake up, we find problems, we fix them, we find more problems. It's practically our hobby. We don't need your help, the Threxian ambassador growled. Sure you don't, sweetie, Agnes replied, and somehow made it sound both agreeable and completely dismissive. That's why your delegation tried to hire human negotiators last month. Don't look surprised, dear. We talked to them. Lovely people. Terrible table manners, but lovely. Kelvin pulled up a holographic display. In the 3 cycles since the trial, 17 council species have quietly contacted Earth. The Grendorians want our agricultural techniques. The Vexin Collective wants our medical technology. The Cortaxians want our environmental restoration methods. And the Yulari, well. He smiled. They want relationship counseling. Apparently, they're not great at the whole maintaining population thing. I wanted to object, but he was absolutely right. My government had sent a discreet inquiry about Earth's atmospheric scrubbing technology 2 cycles ago. We'd been very careful about it. How did they know? Humans, Agnes said, settling into what I was beginning to recognize as her teaching voice, spent our entire history nearly wiping ourselves out. Climate change, nuclear weapons, pandemics, wars, all of it. We've almost destroyed ourselves at least a dozen times. But here's the thing. We didn't. We learned. We adapted. We survived. She pointed her broom at the assembled council. Every single one of you species developed faster than light travel before you developed wisdom. You spread across the stars before you learned how to live sustainably. You built empires before you learned diplomacy. You know why the council has 17 different wars happening in member territories right now. Because you skipped steps. The silence that followed was heavy. Uncomfortable. Humans did it backwards, Kelvin continued. We learned how to not destroy ourselves before we reached the stars. We learned cooperation before we learned conquest. We learned sustainability before we learned expansion. And yes, we're still learning. We mess up constantly. But we have something you desperately need. He paused. Experience with failure. Thopax's arms uncrossed slowly. You're saying your weakness is your strength. I'm saying our mistakes are valuable, Kelvin corrected. The Cortaxian pollution crisis. We fixed that same problem 70 years ago. The Threxian trade issue. We've got 6 economists who'd love to help. The Yulari population decline. Our sociologists have written 40 papers on it. Agnes walked up to Thopax's throne, looking up at the massive Grendorian. Here's what humans bring to the table, dear. We bring the ability to fall flat on our faces and get back up. We bring the knowledge that surviving isn't about being the strongest or the smartest. It's about being too stubborn to quit, and too practical to keep making the same mistakes forever. She raised her broom, not threateningly, just conversationally. You wanted to test us against your scariest predator. You thought that would prove whether we belonged. But you tested the wrong thing. You should have asked whether we could help. Whether we cared enough to try. Whether we're the kind of species that sees problems and thinks opportunities. And, she added with a small smile, whether we're brave enough to be vulnerable. I'm 73. I've got arthritis, high blood pressure, and I need reading glasses. I'm not your strongest fighter. But I came here anyway. That's humanity. We show up. Even when we're scared. Even when we're outmatched. Especially then. The council chamber was so quiet I could hear my own breathing apparatus humming. Council member Xylaf, an ancient Vexin who rarely spoke, activated her communication crystal. Her voice, translated through quantum resonance, filled the space. The elder speaks wisdom. Perhaps we have been measuring worth incorrectly. Other council members started murmuring. I watched as the mood shifted, not dramatically, but noticeably. Like watching ice melt, slowly but inevitably, Thopax sat back in his throne. All 4 of his arms moved to rest position, a Grendorian sign of contemplation. Ambassador Kelvin. Agnes Holtby. The council will vote on human membership in 1 standard hour. You're dismissed until then. Agnes nodded, picked up her knitting, and shuffled toward the exit. As she passed my observation post, she glanced up directly at me. Again. You should visit Earth sometime, Vrel, she called out. I'll make you dinner. Do you eat casserole? I had no idea what casserole was, but I found myself nodding anyway. The vote came back 43 minutes later. 467 species voted. 467 voted yes. Unanimous. First time in council history, humanity was officially welcomed into the galactic community with full membership, privileges, and responsibilities. Within 1 cycle, Earth had established 17 different aid programs, signed 32 technology exchange agreements, and somehow convinced the Threxians and Yulari to stop their 300-year border dispute by inviting both ambassadors to something called a barbecue. The Ravager incident became legend. Across the galaxy, species started using a new phrase. Don't make us send the grandmother. It became shorthand for humanity's particular brand of unexpected, unstoppable determination. As for me, I did visit Earth eventually. Agnes made me something called chicken pot pie. It was delicious. She also showed me her garden, introduced me to her grandchildren, and spent 3 hours explaining why proper broom selection matters. I learned more about humanity in that one visit than in all my cycles of research. They're not the strongest species. Not the smartest. Not the most advanced. But they are survivors. Adapters. Problem solvers. And apparently, their grandmothers are weaponized patients wrapped in floral print dresses. I wrote all of this in my official report. My supervisor thought I was joking. Then she watched the arena footage. Now we have an entire division dedicated to studying human social dynamics. The most requested research topic. Grandmothers. Specifically, how a species develops individuals who can defeat apex predators through sheer force of personality and cleaning implements. We still haven't figured it out, but I'll tell you this. When the next crisis hits the galaxy, and it will, I know exactly which species I want on our side. The one that sends 73-year-old women with brooms to impossible fights. The one that looks at death worlds and decides to stay anyway. The one that falls down, gets up, and then helps everyone else stand too, humanity. Because in the end, that's what they brought to the council. Not weapons. Not technology. Not conquest. They brought hope wrapped in stubbornness, served with apple pie, and a grandmother with a broom.